Hi everybody. I want to begin by apologizing. I know it's been a little while since I've made a video, and I felt like I was getting back on track with making them once a week, but my family, we had a death in my family. My Uncle Kenny passed away from esophagus cancer a few weeks ago, and it's been a really hard time for all of us, and we've all just been trying to process and get ourselves through it. And obviously, during that time, making a video for me wasn't exactly my top priority. My priority was being with my family and allowing myself to grieve and get through that time. Losing my uncle was very, very hard. It was difficult for all of us. We knew it was coming, but it didn't make it any easier. With that being said, I thought that could be a good topic of discussion for this video. I thought maybe talking about what it's like for somebody with Tourette's, or what it's like for me, a person with Tourette's, what it's like to grieve and have Tourette's on top of that stress, and on top of the other problems that I had going on in my life. I'm sorry. My tics have been a little elevated lately. Now, when I go through a very traumatic experience, or an experience that's on the level of losing a loved one, for me, my Tourette's, they kind of take a back seat. And it's really strange, even for me, because I know a lot of people would assume that they would get a lot worse during that time. Because normally when I'm stressed out, excited, angry, or anything, they get a lot worse in that moment. And for some odd reason, when it's to that extent, my Tourette's, they sort of calm down for a little bit. Like for the weeks leading up to my uncle's passing, like I said, we knew it was going to happen. We just didn't know when or exactly what day. And I was so focused on trying to make sure I saw him and other family and continued to see him and continued to make sure I was doing the right thing. And that aspect of everything, I think my Tourette's I think I was almost too stressed or too scared or concerned, where my body just didn't know what to do. And so for once it was kind of calm. Now that now that that's over, my Tourette's have kind of been elevated. I've been taking a lot more, and my OCD has gotten a lot worse. And I've noticed this over the past few years, that this is kind of the path that my body takes. In the moment, I don't tic a whole lot, depending on the situation. But a situation like this, where I'm grieving and where I'm sad, I don't tic a lot. When I start to get better, when my body starts to, or when my mind starts to realize it's okay to be happy again, and it's okay to keep going on with my life, because it is a very hard decision to make, or it's a hard thing to accept, that you need to keep going even though this person that you love so much didn't get to. And that was a really hard thing for me to accept with my uncle, because I felt really bad that his life got cut short and that I was able to continue to keep going. And that was another reason why these videos were hard for me to make, because I felt bad talking about my life when he didn't have a life to talk about anymore. Anyways, I think once my body starts to kind of calm down, or once my brain realizes that my life is starting to get back to normal now, it's almost like, it's like when I come home from work. Like at work, I don't tic as often as I do at home, because when I'm home, I'm relaxed and my body can finally release all that energy, release all those tics. And I kind of see it as the same way for a situation like this. When the dust starts to settle, that's when my tics start to realize, like, hey, you just went through something awful and something really saddening, and I can tell. And so that's when all of them start to come out. And over the past few days, I have started ticking with my breathing again, as I've done in this video, and I'm sure I'll do again. And I started to do more, I don't want to say intense tics, but more, not violent, but I tic a lot more, and maybe a lot, like some of my bigger tics, like the tics with my breathing, tend to scare me, because I can't breathe when I do them, obviously, and I run out of breath. But I tick in those certain ways, or I tick a lot with multiple parts of my body at the same time. And I have noticed when I'm grieving or when something like this happens, my OCD really gets a lot worse. I pick and I bite my lip constantly, which I've talked about in my other OCD video. But it gets that much worse. My hands are always at my mouth, picking and picking and picking. And it's even harder for me to stop than on an average day. I'm picking up and slamming my mouse down because I'm compulsively obsessing over it, and the compulsion is to pick it up and slam it down and hear that noise. And it's getting that much worse at work, and the worse it gets, the more concerned I get about other people hearing me, and then it gets worse from then, and it's really terrible domino effect. But those kind of things are the things that bother me more. Like my OCD, it really starts to take effect, and I think that's that part of the OCD. It's because I can control those things in my life. Like I control. Well, I guess I can't control necessarily picking at my lip because I keep doing it. But those are things I have control over in my life. Like I can pick up that mouse and I can put it back down. I can move that mouse to where it's in the position where I need it to be. I can pick that piece of skin off my lip that's bothering me. And so many other things that in my life I can't control. And I can't really control the OCD either. It's actually really confusing. I apologize. I know probably sounding like I'm contradicting myself, but I think it is kind of like a weird control thing when I go through something like this, because it's something that I can think about and force myself to do. And so I think that's also why the tics start to come out, because my body is finally realizing that I'm breathing again, I'm trying to be happy again, and I am, because I know that's what my uncle would want. And so all the tics that didn't come out in these past few weeks are starting to make their way out now, because it's just the way my body deals with it. And it's happened before in the past, so I've noticed over the few years that this is just how my body accepts it and how my body and my brain get through it. Last February, my dog, who is everything and more to me, started having seizures out of nowhere. We woke up one morning at like 7 in the morning, and she started foaming out of foam started coming out of her mouth, and she was shaking all over the place. And me not knowing what a seizure looks like or I've ever seen one before, I thought my dog was dying right in front of me, and I was very, very, very scared. My husband was as well. And we went through this whole thing, and we kept thinking we were going to lose her. And during that time, people were checking on me and making sure I was okay in general, and making sure my Tourette's were okay. And surprisingly, they were calm, just like what everything happened with my uncle. My Tourette's once again took a back seat because I was so focused on somebody else's health that my own disorders or illnesses, I don't like using that word at all, but my own disorder decided that, or my brain just decided that this person's health was more important. After it was all over and she was okay again, thankfully, almost a year to the day, and she has not had another seizure since. Thank God, and I pray that she never has another one. After all that was over, that's when the tics started to come out. Same thing. New tics would form. I was ticking with my breathing. I was having more complex tics, and it was harder for me to stop. And so I'm not really sure what my body thinks is happening during the moment. I don't know if it's kind of like that factor where you're caring more about the other person than yourself, and so you're not ticking as much, but I don't know. My brain just has its own agenda, and I know everybody else with Tourette's, they deal with it in a different way, but for me, that's how it happens, and it's really strange, and it's hard to explain, because it's hard to tell somebody that in the moment, it's hard to tell somebody that when I'm stressed out, I tick a lot worse, but then when something like this happens where I'm extremely stressed out and worried, I tick less. So it's really confusing, and I just think that's kind of important to point out, because not every day is the same, not every person's the same, and you never know what's going to happen with your body. And going through something like grief and getting yourself through it is already extremely difficult, but adding Tourette syndrome into the mix makes it that much more difficult, because even when you're trying, like for me, like right now, I'm trying to move on from it all and I'm trying to get better, my body is now bringing up all the things that I didn't do before, and it's incredibly difficult because I'm trying to move on from it, but yet it's kind of like my body won't let me forget at the same time. That's really all I have for today. I apologize if I brought up some sad memories or sad things for my family that are watching, and I apologize for like the sad topic of this video, but I just thought it was also important to talk about. Please continue to leave comments when you want to leave comments, and email me. I'm loving all the emails I'm getting from people, and I'm sorry if it's taken me a really long time to respond to people. Things have been a little crazy right now with my life, but I promise I'm reading them, and I promise I will get back to you. So please continue to share and like and subscribe to my videos. I'm getting more and more subscribers every day, which is really exciting. And I promise my next video will be a little more upbeat.